fails to deliver could offer us the best example or representation of naked shorting and potentially manipulative action against a certain stock. And in this case, we're looking at NIO. But I'm going to pull up a couple others because I want you to notice a couple of things. I think it'll stand out when I share it with you. So first off, one thing that caught my attention here, this is the recent stock price and trading history for NIO. The white lines represent the fails to deliver. That's when shares couldn't be located on a day. And in this single day, there were over 5 million shares reported that couldn't be located. And that number is a very large number for shares that couldn't be located. We haven't seen a big number like that, a 5 million plus number, since dating back to 2020, right before NIO stock went on its big run. But if you'll also notice the yellow line, which represents stock price, and for me, it's pretty obvious. The eye test is pretty simple here. The yellow line with the price, obviously much higher and different when there are perhaps a normal number of fails to deliver relative to how things change when you see these spikes pop up and then stay up. You see the stock price come down. It seems like a pretty obvious correlation to me. But again, I'm going to share a couple more with you. Hang in there with me. First, I want to offer this for those who aren't aware of it. I've shared a lot of content, not just mine, but some other folks as well, on things like naked shorting. And there's a clip I want to show you because it actually represents a little bit maybe of the SEC's view and why they don't think naked shorting matters. So as an investor, these are the kinds of things I want to know about. Now, I've jokingly kind of set this up as the Wall Street no manipulation tolerated right playlist. And so that's where those videos are if you want to check some of those out. I go a lot more in depth. We talk about a lot of different things, and I will keep adding to it moving forward. But I want to move over here and show you the Faraday future chart. Somebody referenced in the comment section on my video today, and this is after hours on May 16, 2024. There's your date and timestamp for this video and my recording time. Someone offered that they saw Faraday future, FFIE is the ticker running. And so I said, all right, let me pull up the fails to deliver and let's see what that looks like. Now, if you'll note, there were over 1 billion shares traded. And I looked in the recent history for this stock, there are typically about 200 million shares. One of the things that I pay attention to, especially with NIO stock, is what the trade volume is. And dating back to 2020, when NIO stock made its enormous run, we had big trade volume. And it was 80 to 100 million plus on average daily for quite a few months in a row. But so now coming back to FFIE, Faraday future, in this case, about 5 times what has recently been traded. But here's the part I want to point out. And I think it's pretty obvious if you look at the stock price represented in the yellow and how different this failed to deliver data is versus when you saw the failed to deliver data pop up and really kind of go nuts here. And you see the stock price come down and held down. Now, a point of note, and this is important to understand, is this is all delayed data. We never get the real-time data on these fails to deliver, so I'm always kind of retroactively checking it. That's why the 5 million share trade volume caught my attention on the FTD side of things for NIO. And I will keep an eye on that and share more with you as I see more. But now I want to move over to Alibaba, because Alibaba also, and this is what's interesting, is Alibaba, different than NIO. Alibaba is a very profitable company. NIO is not yet profitable. And so they are more subject to the short thesis. But because Alibaba also has a lot of fails to deliver in the recent time frame, I just thought, wow, that's so interesting that we have a profitable company that perhaps is getting naked shorted and maybe even naked shorted heavily. And obviously, we've got another correlation. Apparently, you've got stock price so much higher before these fails to deliver come in, and then you've just got this downtrend with the stock price. It's incredible. But because this is a different scenario with a profitable company, and then also with NIO not being profitable, it's just one of those things I want to have some awareness of and share it with others in case they're not aware of it. We're going to come back to NIO in just a second, but here's the clip now. And this is John Welborn, who's spoken and written extensively on shorting. Just listen to what he has to say in this interview.
I was at a meeting at the SEC across the table from their chief economist, who pulled me out of a meet after the meeting. We had gone into the meeting to say there's all this naked short selling happening. There are hundreds of companies on the threshold list. They've been on for hundreds of days. And he pulled me aside afterward and said to me, naked short selling doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how much trading happens in these securities, as long as the number of shares The denominator doesn't change. Shares issued and outstanding. The market price is fair.
So according to the SEC, or at least that party who is part of the SEC, naked shorting doesn't matter. I'm curious what your take on this is, and I'm going to come back and we're going to talk more extensively, and I'll offer more some of the things that I've been picking up and learning and studying and making note of from John Welborn. It's crazy stuff, but I'll keep putting it into this new playlist that I've created, or newer playlist that I've created. But now I want to come back to the NIO stock price and the fails to deliver chart for a minute, because I mentioned this recently. I want to follow up and stay on top of this, and hopefully as many people as possible will hear this, because Alibaba just had earnings. And as I said before, Alibaba is a very profitable company, and they had a big drop after their earnings of the stock price. And I kind of noted that. I was also aware of the fails to deliver having been very high. Now, this could be because they're both Chinese companies. I'm not sure if maybe they're being shorted together. I don't know, and I don't want to speculate too much on it. What I do want to do is pay attention and have some indicators like this. For example, NIO is going to have earnings coming up. And if a very profitable company like Alibaba can, have a big drop to the downside after their earnings, then I just don't want to count out or rule out the shorts, especially with recent spikes in the FTDs. And maybe shorts continue to kind of control the stock price action in the short term. And my guess is that the earnings for NIO is going to be around June 5th. I talked about that in a recent video. The last couple of times they've done earnings, it's happened to fall on a 5th, March 5th, and then December 5th, the last two times. So I'm thinking and kind of looking ahead to that. But also, NIO could surprise with a bigger delivery number than expected in the May deliveries, which would be reported in early June. And that sets things up to be very interesting. And I don't know, I almost feel like we've got a 50-50 chance of seeing some shorts get squeezed, even in the short term, maybe. But I could also see shorts remaining in control and keeping this thing down, or maybe pushing it down further. I don't know, but I want to offer what I'm kind of seeing and thinking, because again, it's about awareness. In fact, I've got it right here. Whether it's change or whether it's whatever you're doing in life, ultimately, step number 1 is become aware. Step number 2 is understand. And then step number 3 is take action. In the case of investing, and in this case, for me, it's kind of like, all right, I want to always be learning and increasing my awareness about things like this, like naked shorting, like fails to deliver, like if the SEC doesn't think naked shorting matters, but if it in fact does matter, especially in the short term with stock price action, I absolutely want to have some understanding about that so that I can then take whatever action that makes sense to me. So anyway, I wanted to offer that. But I'll be back with more content, because this is really just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more that I'm hoping to come back with. And it is crazy times, but very exciting times for NIO as a company. Fundamentally, it's never been stronger. It is incredibly well positioned. And I think we've got an excellent chance of seeing a profitable quarter in 2024. Hopefully, it will come in before the end of the year, because, again, there's a lag time when NIO reports versus what they actually do. So for example, the full year for NIO in 2023 wasn't reported until like March 5th. So obviously that's, a few months into the new year. So we'll see how that all plays out. And I'll have to talk about why I'm thinking things are shaping up this way. Yes, it does have to do with Onvo. It also has to do with, some of the things happening in the background. Other revenues is probably the simplest way to put it. So there's a lot more to unfold. I don't know how much of this we'll see in the next or upcoming earnings, which is why I just have no idea what's going to happen with short-term stock price action. But I'm very excited about this company and its long-term prospects, more so than ever. So anyway, drop a like on the video if you stuck around to the end. Thank you. I appreciate it very much. I'll see you all again very soon.